Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at race number 7 at Laurel. It's one of 4 stakes races on the card. And this is the $100,000 Carousel. Fillies and Mares going a demanding mile and an eighth. Let's take a peek at this field. It's not the biggest field in the world, but trainer Brittany Russell has a very strong hand. The 2 morning line favorites, the accomplished hybrid Eclipse, the progressive Saddle Up Jessie.
Yeah, these two are very nice horses, but different running styles a little bit. I feel like Hybrid Eclipse has been further back in several of those efforts. Saddle Up Jessie's a little bit close to it, but you're not seeing too much discrimination on the morning line, 8-5 and 7-5. And I feel like kind of makes everyone else in here, Dan, outsiders in a way.
But you make an excellent point about the pace. As we throw up our Timeform US pace projector, you'll note the very rare gray bar, no speed. That could work against a horse like the number 2 Hybrid Eclipse, a horse that likes to make one run from the back of the pack. Peyton Elizabeth, the number 5, is expected to make the lead. Whether she's good enough after being claimed for $40,000 last time out is a different story. But Warrior's Ransom stretching out could be in the catbird seat.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting pace scenario and very important in a race like this. As you mentioned, it is a compact field, and kind of even diving deeper into some of those races, the differences between Saddle Up Jessie and Hybrid Eclipse, it's come down to pace every single time.
Now, the number 1 Saddle Up Jessie's a little bit more tactical than her stablemate, and she looked so good in her most recent start. This was at a mile and a 16th. And I don't know about you, Ashley, but she sure looked like a stakes horse to me. She made this smooth 3-wide bid on the turn into contention. She makes the lead without any issue whatsoever. And now Toledo's going to ask for run in the final eighth of a mile, and she stays to her task.
It's a little bit of a defining moment for her. I know she obviously had 2 very big wins. One, though, was in that maiden claiming event. Then the next start, she was able to win nicely. Then she backed off a little bit, but I think it's been a sort of a thing where she's been figuring it out. And then when the light bulb really went on last time out, it went on in a big way. And I thought it was a huge performance.
Hybrid Eclipse, again, is the most accomplished horse in this race. She is a multiple stakes winner, and she got it done again last time out in the 38 go-go at a mile and a 16th. Now, this pace really quickened up the second quarter, where Opus 42 brushed to the lead through a quick internal fraction. It set things up for Hybrid Eclipse, who just got a beautiful inside-out closer's trip under Sheldon Russell.
She's been able to do this in 2 of her last 3, but again, it came down to the pace where in these races at a mile and a 16th, she's getting a decent enough setup that it is set up for the closers. And this race set up beautifully for her. Not sure this will happen again in here, but look at her resume. Obviously, she's very talented, a 9-time winner, and absolutely loves it at Laurel.
Warrior's Ransom is a fascinating entrant because Jamie Ness easily could have run this horse back in the Willa on the move, going 6.5 furlongs, where she would have fit the race like a glove. He's now going to stretch her all the way out to a mile and an eighth off a good third-place effort in her most recent start, the Safely Kept. This was a race where she fell far back sprinting. She's going to get up for third. The winner of this race, the Brad Cox-trained Howell, was odds on, and they've got bigger and better in mind for her. I thought Warrior's Ransom ran fine in this race. It's all about whether she'll stay the distance, but I guess in this situation, you trust a high percentage trainer like Ness.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, as Jamie Ness knows what sort of a filly that she is. You can go down the page and do see a couple of efforts at a mile and a 16th, a mile and an eighth. It's a little bit of a different ball game, but I don't mind her last 2. She has been closing from off of it. I'm hoping, though, that going a mile and an eighth, she will be closer. We keep on talking about the pace. She's going to need to be.
Number 4, Lady Brew, not only gets a bit of a class test, she's also going to get a surface test. She has been campaigning at Woodbine, which means she runs on Tapeta, she runs on turf. Now she'll get a dirt test. She won 2 in a row going into her most recent start. The Maple Leaf didn't run very well that day in a return to graded stakes competition. A lot of minor awards on her page, Ashley.
A lot of minor awards, but she did have that little bit of a win streak going. And prior to that, she was knocking on the door. Now, she can be versatile. She can be closer to it. She can close from off of it, depending on the pace scenario. She's coming out of some races, even that race 2 back on the Tapeta. They went a little fast early on for a race, going a mile and a 16th. And I think, she had class limitations last time out. We've been talking about the races up at Woodbine. Their meet just ended. Millie Girl solo album, very nice horses, probably a bit better than this group overall. So she's a wild card. I'd say on the bottom side of the pedigree, I'm not really worried about. Dirt that much, point of entry can go, might have a different story.
Peyton Elizabeth, the number 5, enters in good form. She's won 4 of her last 7 starts, and she projects to be the controlling speed in this race. That being said, she was claimed for 40 last time out, away from the high percentage Nest barn. And in that race, Saddle Up Jessie just ran right by her.
Can't really endorse her in this spot. I think it's going to be very tough, especially considering the horses that we've talked about. You said Saddle Up Jessie's been her in 2 of those last 3 meetings that they've kind of faced off against one another. And my concern is she's claimed the barn necessarily not knowing for doing a lot of work off the claim, at least the first start. Is this a way that you've put up 40? You're hoping to get a little bit of return by hitting the board? Maybe that's the theory, but it's tough for me to endorse this one on the top spot.
Circle Home is another one that's going to have to step it up because her successes have come on the turf in her career. She's run okay on dirt without winning earlier on, so she really has to improve. I just wonder if this is a situation where you take her back, make one run, and you hope to get some black type.
That's what I'm thinking. For me, it'd be different if this was a turf race. The dirt races that we have seen, they're so early in her career that I can't read into things like the buyer speed figures. The class certainly is not what she's facing in this group. So from what we see on paper, it's a little hard to make a case for her. Again, a similar story to the 5.
Top pick time in the carousel. We're hoping it's not going to be a merry-go-round race with the speed going to the front and holding them wire to wire. We're both going with Saddle Up Jessie. Just lots to like. I think she has more upside than her more accomplished stablemate. She's in very, very sharp form, and I think she's more tactical as well.
Absolutely. I'm afraid for Hybrid Eclipse that the pace is not going to be what she needs. So I think Saddle Up Jessie should be close enough to it that even if she's got a target or 2 in front of her, she can make that late move in the stretch.
I have a feeling you might have hit the nail on the head with your exacta picks, trying to kind of split up these favorites, trying to get the 3 into the number. 1, 3, 2, 4 for Ashley, 1, 2, 4, 3 for me. We'll see if Brittany Russell does it again in the carousel.